Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 139. With just over a week to go, we're looking at fitness, fatigue, and how the final preparations are coming along. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hey guys, welcome back. Not long to go now. I think, Dan, is it about a week? Next week? No, is it next weekend? Yeah, I think it might be.
It's a week Sunday.
A week on Sunday.
First test, England-Wales at HQ.
Yes, indeed. And that's when the World Cup really kind of gets going, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's when it is. I wonder when he'll announce the team.
I think it's the day after, so Monday morning.
No, as in announce the team for that test.
I'd imagine this coming Thursday. It's usually the Thursday before. Oh, well, it's a Sunday game, so maybe it'll be Friday. It's usually a few days before, isn't it?
Yeah, which is standard. And by the way, hi guys, how are you?
Oh, Dan, did you not get a chance to say hello at the beginning?
I didn't. Sorry, mate. I'm too excited. I'm too excited about what's coming up, mate. This is the start of it all. This is where it now becomes real. This is real business time. It is.
Team obviously will be announced soon. We will delve into that when we know more. And we're probably we're going to get an episode out next week, possibly before the team gets announced. So, we can put together some predictions, although I don't think that really is necessary. I think that, well, let's go back to a question you asked a few weeks ago. What sort of team is Eddie going to put out for that first game?
So I reckon first game in, you go strong, you go big, you go your best 15.
So basically, what he would consider his test 23 is what you think he's going to pick for that match.
That's what I reckon he does for the first one. I reckon when we go back to Wales a week after,
maybe
you then go your sort of more B team. But I reckon the first one is your test 15.
Okay, so we'll have a think about that, and we'll put together our prediction for what that's going to be. Try and get an episode out slightly earlier next week, and then obviously on the Sunday we'll have the live game, and that of course is not Sunday coming in a few days. It's the one after, but I'm looking forward to getting back into the live games. It feels like it's been too long since there was last any rugby.
Mate, it's been far too long. It's been, we're talking a matter of weeks, which is far too long.
I mean, England rugby, mate.
England rugby, yeah. Last one must have been, Six Nations. So here we are. This is it. This is what we've built up for the last 2 years. And I'm pretty excited about it. I've actually been following it quite a lot. There's a not a huge amount and nothing sort of earth-shattering, but there are a few bits to cover.
Well, before we crack on with those, let me just quickly. We've had another review, which is always nice, we like to read these out. So this is from. He calls himself a law enforcement, but he also calls himself Clive. 5 stars. Listening in Canada is the title. He says, "Hi guys, I really enjoy listening to the pod while walking my border collie over here in Vancouver. Great analysis and insightful comments. Nice to hear from fellow committed England fans. Keep up the great work, Clive. 5 stars."
Nice, thanks, Clive. I appreciate that.
So we always enjoy getting those, reading them out. Keep them coming. And as I say every week, guys, if you can head over to iTunes, rate us, review us, let us know what you think. Also, you can reach out to us at England Rugby Pod or englandrugbypod@gmail.com if you prefer to email. So a few things going on in the England camp or around the England camp. Obviously, most notably, there've been some injuries and people trying to get back to full fitness. And Brad Shields obviously dropped out last week. What's going on?
Well, so I think we can deal with this in slightly different. So the Brad Shields thing was interesting. I think last week when he dropped out, we said he's probably done for the World Cup. Mm-hmm. But actually, the latest article suggests that maybe he isn't. Maybe there is still a chance he'll go. So I had a look at that article and I did a bit of a time frame. So they're saying he's in a race to prove his fitness before the opening test, right? So 4 to 6 weeks. Let's say it's 6 weeks from when the article was written, which takes it to roughly the 10th of September. Now, the first match is not till the 22nd of September, But do you risk the fact that will his fitness be up to scratch? Will he have been enough a part of the camp, bearing in mind he's been sent home, to have, done all the World Cup preparation?
You've missed the bulk of conditioning because you got injured on like day 1 or 2 of it over in Treviso. You will have missed all of the warm-up games, and you'll have missed the point at which the camp becomes about now create the bonding amongst the kind of the group. And the fact that you only just come over from New Zealand, you're not going to be quite as ingrained with the lads as some of the others yet.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I agree with. I think it might be, if we're talking, so if that was a Jack Null, which again we can cover in a minute, or like let's say an Owen Farrell or something, then yeah, of course you make those adjustments. But is Brad Shields, this is nothing against him personally, but is he integral enough to be given that much leeway?
You and I have been I think reasonably vocal on not our opinion of him, but our opinion of his selection over others. And I think we both agreed that we probably wouldn't take him, but we thought Eddie probably would. But I feel like he was right on the fence. I just don't see that, a player, unless Eddie seeing something completely different. I think a player that's will he, won't he, who's kind of on the fringe a little bit, that then has this situation, unfortunately, he's got to miss out, surely.
I think so. My only slight hesitation with that. So to me, Brad Shields is your workhorse. He's going to sort of almost fill a Chris Robshaw role.
Yeah.
Whereas Don Brandt, who's coming in his place, is probably a lot more of an impact player. Like he will probably make more of a difference. Even if you look at him as a finisher type player. But without Brad Shields, are you short at 6? I mean, I know we're big fans of having both Curry and Underhill playing at the same time, which I think would work. But otherwise, your only real 6 who is your sort of type workhorse who does all the dog work is Wilson. Is that enough? But then equally, it's not really, because you can put a Maro Toja there should you need, or a Courtney Laws or something, perhaps for the Tonga game or the USA game or something.
I mean, when you say you've only got a Wilson, it's not a bad only. No,
Wilson. Wilson's awesome. I don't mean from a point of view of him. I mean from a point of view of fatigue.
So if you're looking at Curry, Underhill, Wilson, is Don Brandt a 6 or is he an 8?
Don Brandt's been playing. He can play sort of anywhere back row, but I think they're not. He can be a 6 or an 8. I don't think he can be a 7, but he can be a 6 or an 8. Do you know who'd be ideal?
Tell me.
Don Armand.
Don Armand would be ideal. Unfortunately, he's not in the mix. I think maybe you take, because of what you just said, because of our flexibility in the second row, I think you don't necessarily do anything else. I mean, he might take Don Brandt as cover because he can cover back row across, you can cover 6 and 8. And at the moment, Billy's the only out-and-out 8 in contention. So maybe that's another reason to take him. And maybe Eddie felt that Brad Shields could potentially cover 8, although I'm not convinced. I think more often than not in those situations, Brad Shields would move to the second row and someone, you just end up moving too much around. So I think if he's going to take a punt, then Don Brandt goes as cover for 8, but can always step in elsewhere if needed. And actually, you look at Curry and Underhill as the 7s, with the potential to do what we'd like to see and have them both playing. Wilson as the 6, but you've got 6 cover in Itoje, in Laws, and potentially in Don Brandt. So I think they've got enough.
Yeah, I think so. To me, I think you probably need to leave Brad Shields out, because I think it's probably too much of a gamble. And maybe if it is for 4 weeks and he's back at full fitness, he's still in with a shout. If it's for 6 weeks, I think it's too late. If it's any later, I think you're definitely in. I don't think you can take the risk on him. I think he's a brilliant player, and I think given time, actually, I think he seems to be getting better and better in an England shirt. But I just think he's too much of a not risk is the wrong word, but he's just too much
unknown entity.
Well, he's just not integral enough to take that much of a risk for. And normally the thing that he'd have going for him is he had the best beard, but having watched the latest Rising Suns episode, Joe Muller's beard is looking absolutely epic. So
fierce beards.
Yeah, so he's missing out there as well.
Of course, the other option at 6 is also in current recovery, and of course Jack Noel.
I thought he was a 7 option, or was it a 6?
I don't know. Just the workhorse thing makes me assume 6.
Well, yeah, possibly. I mean, although in fairness, sevens are no slouches.
No. But yeah, being serious, of course, Jack Noel has left camp. It was pre-planned, so it's not something that everyone needs to freak out about and go, "Oh no, he's been dropped," because it's or he's not going to get fit enough in time. It was always planned. He was always going back. It's for a post-surgical kind of review, and they sound reasonably optimistic that it's going to go to plan and that he'll be back in the mix. So I don't know whether he'll go back out to Treviso before. Is it tomorrow or is it next Friday?
So tomorrow they finish their first of 2 training camps allegedly.
But their first of 2 training camps, one after the other, or they're coming back tomorrow?
That's it. I'm not sure. It must be one after the other, right? Because
why would that be 2
just
camps?
over a week? In just over a week, they're playing at Twickenham.
But I wonder whether they've got another training camp after the warm-up games, as just before the World Cup.
Oh, possibly. That's a good shout.
So yeah, I suspect Noel won't be heading back. But he's been the fact that he's been involved whilst being injured. It's pretty clear what the feelings are regarding him. We just need that green light, don't we? And then he can go and do what he does.
Yeah, the fact that with Jack Noel, the fact that they say that he's unlikely to play in the first warm-up game, you're like,
yeah,
okay,
so
fine.
That sounds like he's likely to play in the other 3, and there's still a chance he could be available for the first one. So that to me says that right now we're not worrying about the World Cup itself. He's going to be there, and he's one of those players that you would let him be injured until the day that you leave for the World Cup, and you'd still take him.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Noel is integral.
So
he's huge.
So yeah, so actually our 2 injury worries are not so much injury worries at all. Jack Noel, we think, is probably going to be fine. Mako, I assume, is doing all right. I haven't heard any. I don't know what the latest is on him.
So watching the latest Rising Suns, Mako was training and doing so. I think Mako's fine, and I
Cruz is back in training as well.
Yeah, I saw that. Cruz is back in training, so it's looking strong. We injury worries are not huge by any means. We look as if we might have a pretty much full squad to pick from. The Jack Noel thing, though, when they said he was sent home part of the plan, I don't doubt that's true, but it does seem a bit weird that wasn't not shared earlier. I mean, purely because when he's sent home, that's bound to cause speculation. And I know Eddie doesn't really match about this much, but why give yourself more drama if you don't need it? So there is part of me that wonders whether.
But maybe that is intentionally planned. I mean, if the media suddenly go, "Oh my God, what's going on with Jack Noel?" and you get to go, "Oh, don't worry, he's absolutely fine. It's a routine test." It's like you're providing a positive answer. Whereas obviously, if they were to ask questions of, Mike Brown, for example, saying that training is really tough, they might start saying, if these, is Eddie pushing them too hard again? And then you've got to kind of defend a negative. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know. By not saying anything, Jack Noel goes home. Everyone goes, "Oh my God, what's going on?" You get to go, "Don't worry, he's fine. All's good," and you're kind of creating positive media. I'm speculating myself. I have no idea if that has any bearing on what they're doing. If there's been any thought process, or if in fact they just decided that they'd forgotten to mention it.
No, but I like your approach.
But yeah, speaking of the Mike Brown article, and I believe it was sort of brought up in the Rising Suns episode 4 that you watched. It sounds like the training out there is tough. I mean, we wanted it to be tough, and the whole point is that it's about conditioning yourselves for what the conditions are going to be like in Japan, and they're supposedly very similar. But with the heat wave that Europe's had recently, it must be horrible. I think Brown was saying that typically in a training session he won't lose any weight. In a test match he might lose a kilo just because of the intensity. He says in training out in Treviso he's losing 3 kilos per session. Now I don't know if that's a reflection on how hard he has worked in the past. Maybe he's experiencing what it is to work hard for the first time. After he was dropped and he's been given, the door is ajar again. But it sounds like it's pretty hard work. They were saying that they have nutritionists who weigh them before and after, hence knowing the weight loss, and then literally they come off. They look at how much weight they've lost, and they'll create them a sort of a nutrition plan and go, right, you need to go and eat this, and this, and you need to drink this much water, go and do it, and put all that weight back on again in the next hour.
So a few things there. Firstly, why are you mugging off Mike Brown, one of your Quinn's brethren? And 3 kilograms to lose in one training session is shitloads. That's over 6.5 pounds. I think it's 2.2 pounds. That is, especially for Mike Brown, who is a trim guy anyway. Like, he's in great shape anyway. For him to lose 3 kilograms is a lot. What's Billy losing? Billy's probably losing about 25, 26 kg. Are we thinking? And
tell him that to his face.
Yeah,
what about Mako?
Oh dear God, yeah. Mako is literally losing a Titanic every training session. But that training is tough. They are putting themselves through the paces. And it was something I was chatting with the other day about, to a mate, one of the guys I used to play rugby with, and chatting to, and he was chatting about the England team and saying, what we got to remember, like, a lot of people slag them off. This is actually their job. Do you know anyone else in any other job who's puts themselves through that much effort for their work? So, although, yes, it's a privilege for them to play there, the reason they play there is because they've earned it and they deserve it. So I think we've got to remember how much these guys are giving towards it as well. So, just want to say to the boys, like, great effort, guys. Please keep it up. And there's fans, thank you very much for the sort of dedication and commitment you're putting towards this.
Agreed, but also I would say to your friend that, yes, it is their job, and no, I don't know many people that would put in that much effort, but I don't know that many people who get paid that same amount either. And those that I do know that are earning that kind of money do put in that kind of effort, because that's the only way you get it. So
what we said about winning arguments with facts, I guess.
I'm sorry, but I think I agree with you. I think we should what's the word? Should we be grateful, impressed? They should be doing this. I think if any of them was to say that they weren't prepared to do it, you'd have serious questions to ask. So I don't think that this article was a complaint in any way. I think it was just observational. Mike Brown was just commenting on the fact that yes, it's tough.
Completely.
They probably love it, as tough as it is. And hopefully it's going to stand England in good stead for the World Cup. But I would argue to your friend that that's all well and good, but it's a different type of job, paying a different type of salary, and with all the bonuses and everything else that go with it.
You still get other jobs like bankers and things who will be earning 10 times more than they are. Well, are they putting in the same effort? Maybe they are. I don't know.
I don't think, even in banking, I don't think you earn that kind of money without putting in the effort. I think, when people complain about the bankers and the bankers' bonuses, first and foremost, they don't all get that money. Those huge bonuses go to the top 1%. And the top 1% only get them because literally they put their lives on hold to focus on nothing but. I think the guy, the people. I think football's the exception.
Maybe, but having said that, that's fair. One of our best mates is fairly high in broking, and in fairness to him, he works like an absolute dog and reaps the rewards. Yeah, so fair enough.
So you get out what you put in, and 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 I think therefore expectations should be that these guys are working their asses off, and hopefully we all get to enjoy the results of that hard work. So we shall see.
So on that point, what I wanted to ask you, like bearing in mind this fitness camp thing, who do you reckon is the fittest player, like stamina-wise? Who do you reckon's the fittest player in the England team?
It's going to be a forward, I would think.
I've got two down who I reckon.
I mean, maybe someone like a Tom Curry, because he's got age on his side as well, and as we know,
he was one of mine.
There's an age. I couldn't tell you what it is, but there's an age where you suddenly go, "Holy shit, I'm old now," and everything that I used to be able to do, I can't do anymore.
Mate, I'll tell you exactly what that age is. 30. The day you hit 30, I was just like, in my 20s, I was like, "Oh, this is all bullshit. This is all bullshit." The day I hit 30, I was like, "Oh, this is tough."
Mate, in our 20s, we used to wake up and go, "Should we do an all-dayer?" Yeah, okay. And we'd go and have a boozy breakfast and then just drink all day and go to bed. And we'd wake up the next morning and go, "Should we do it again?" I'm not doing that now. Now I'll have, more than 2 glasses of wine. And I'm like, "Oh, that's me done for 3 days."
Well, I think you can handle more than that. You can drink a fair bit, but if you have a night out, it does tend to put us out of action for a little while.
And that's just, the boozing. Couldn't tell you what it would be like to try and do a rugby training session. Haven't done one of them in about 15 years. I'm sure I'd be pretty good at it, mate. But
no, well, I'll tell you a word for that, mate. I'll tell you a word for that.
Probably for the best.
So I had Tom Curry and Maro Toje. I have no idea if this is right. Yeah. This is who I reckon would be the fittest.
But I think in both of those examples, they're both young guys who have that advantage over some of the older boys.
None of them are that old. Let's face it. When we say the older boys, we're still thinking they've still got 10 years on us.
Yeah, but we're pushing 40, so.
Yeah, true.
The older boys there could be 28, 29. They're on that kind of cusp of turning 30, which is the dreaded point where fitness becomes tougher. And I mean, that's probably where someone like a Rob Shaw, who is a workhorse, but it's not that it can't be done. It just becomes that much harder to do it, doesn't it? And that much harder to maintain those fitness levels. So I wouldn't necessarily say that Curry and or Itoje are the hardest working in terms of maintaining that fitness. I think probably with them, an element of that is comes naturally. But I think all of them are working their asses off, and clearly by the feedback that's coming out of camp and from the these videos that are floating around, you can see that they are all working hard. And as I keep saying, I look forward to seeing that hopefully paying off, and it'll be interesting to see. If there are any major differences between the different nations and how they've gone about preparing for the World Cup.
And
obviously
people these
Wales
days
and
push
Ireland.
hard.
Yeah. So, Clive Woodward showed that fitness is vital to success. And, any team that wants to genuinely compete, and I think a lot of the lower tier nations, this is one of the areas where they're probably going to struggle. Well, I guess this is one of the areas that there's no reason why they can't compete at the same level. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. In the past, it's always been that the lower tier nations struggle in the last 20 minutes. But I guess there's no reason whatsoever why, even a team lying 20th in the world couldn't be as fit as the team in first place. And maybe that creates a more competitive environment if they can keep up whatever it is they can keep up for the full 80 minutes.
Yeah. No. I'm not anti that. But on the other end of the spectrum, then, who do you reckon's the least fit in our team?
Oh, Marlow.
No, I don't think he is.
No.
I think Marlow secretly is fitter than
Mako because he's been injured.
Possibly. I think Don Brandt is still going out every night with his uni mates and getting smashed up.
No, he won't.
Of course he's not.
I was going to say, don't think they'd be allowing that.
No, of course he's not. But I think Don Brandt's probably because he's less used to the environment, but I'm sure he's adapting well because he's a young fella.
I think the margins are so small because I think it's such an elite sport now that they're all they're all in such good condition generally that I just think, to pick a most fit and least fit, it's not like back in the old days where you could say that Brian Moore or, sorry if you're listening,
Jeff Robin,
was the least fit. Then, these days that they're all up there and they're all being given training programs that are designed for them individually. It's personal trainers, and so they're all going to be in pretty good shape. Let's move away from fitness.
Okie dokie.
And there's probably not a lot more to talk about until the team's announced and we can start focusing on the actual games. But of course, the Rugby Championship is going on at the moment. We obviously talked about Argentina, New Zealand, and we talked about the fact that Argentina ran New Zealand close, 2 weeks ago, 2016 to New Zealand, that one. Perhaps it felt a little bit like New Zealand didn't really turn up for that. South Africa dicked Australia then. This weekend, just gone a little bit different. New Zealand, South Africa was very interesting.
Mate, South Africa are
contenders.
Massive contenders, and they've got a lot of momentum as well. They are looking very, very good. At 9, their talent at 9 is just stupid. I mean, they're actually starting to show off now how good they are at 9. Because they've got Faf de Klerk, they've got, I don't know how to pronounce his name, is it Yanchis or the guy who scored that try? I mean, they are both of them absolute world-class players, and they are.
I mean, is there a danger that if you can, if they have one kind of outstanding person like that, and I'm not saying that the others aren't, but if they've got someone who's that far ahead of the rest in terms of what they bring, is there a danger that teams can come up with strategies to shut them down?
Well, that's the thing.
That's easy to do, but
yeah, I don't think they have that. I don't think that's the case though, because I think they're strong all round. I think their pack is looking pretty damn good. I think South Africa are starting to look good all round. I think South Africa are actually really what's it? Andre Pollard. They're 10. He's a quality player. South Africa to me are as much a threat as the All Blacks at the moment.
Interesting. Okay, so looking at the other game then, Australia have been pretty poor for some time. Argentina ran New Zealand to 4 points, but Australia beat Argentina by 6. Do we think this is Australia's showing signs of improvement, or were both teams really poor, or did Argentina just happen to have a really good game against New Zealand, or did New Zealand just happen to have a really poor game against Argentina?
I think a mixture of all. Firstly, don't forget this was in Australia.
Yep.
Which does help. Australia have quality players. They've got the problem with Australia at the moment is they've had some players who've just been absolute arseholes and are causing a lot of crap for them. Israel Folau, just in case anyone was wondering.
I think we got it.
Oh, thanks, mate. But they've still got quality players, and they still play well. And they are a stronger team than Argentina. I think Argentina, a lot would have been taken out of Argentina in that match against the All Blacks, but they still were within one score of Australia, who are still a good team, even though they're not playing well. So I think it's a mixture of everything. Argentina are a threat. I don't think Argentina could win it, because I don't think they could consistently. I think one-off they could beat sort of a top team, but I don't think they could beat a top team 2 or 3 times in a row. I don't think Australia could either at the moment.
So really, we need France, who I believe who definitely play Argentina before we do. No, they don't, do they? When do we play? Yeah, I think we play Argentina in our penultimate game of the group stages.
I believe so. Yeah, I can't remember exactly all the.
So France, and we play France last. So France will have to play Argentina in one of the first couple of games. So we need France to run them close. We need France to have a good game against them and to run them close. And then, the result will be what it will be. But basically take a bit out of them.
Yeah, I mean,
so that their one great game isn't against us.
So France Argentina is their first match. It's the day before our first match. So France play Argentina like the Saturday, the 21st of September. So I think by the time we play Argentina, that is actually fairly irrelevant.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think the point is Argentina. I would back us 19 times out of 20, but Argentina can beat us.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be honest, I didn't watch the whole game. I actually got bored. So I don't think either Australia or Argentina were that exciting to watch. I don't know, it was that exciting to watch. Not like the New Zealand-South Africa game, which was thrilling. I think, 16-10 to Australia. Could have been 16-10 to Argentina. It just wasn't a great spectacle. I think it's all about New Zealand and South Africa. And I'm not sure who I'd rather play, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I know that New Zealand are number one in the world, but I feel like South Africa have upset us too many times in the past, whereas in New Zealand, you'd almost be going in as the underdog on paper, which gives you an advantage when it's close. So I'd almost rather play New Zealand in, say, a semi-final than South Africa.
So my thing is, I don't think I would ever
rather play New Zealand.
Yeah, than anyone else. That's where because.
I mean, look, it doesn't matter. It's going to be England, New Zealand in the final, assuming that's possible, to be a repeat of the Cricket World Cup final, and England are going to win on penalty shootout.
Does that go? That's a good point. Does that happen? So say,
yeah.
So at the end of full time, if it's a draw, does it go to the kick for post?
At the end of full time, if it's a draw, it goes to kick for posts. And
no, at the end of it goes to extra time. I mean,
at the end of extra time. Yes, yeah. At the end of extra time, if it's still a draw, it goes to kick to posts, which it would have done in 2003 as well.
Wow.
And it's only happened a few times, but I have watched it, and it's just every kick is in front of the posts on the 22. So they don't move around. Every kick is on the 22 line in front of the posts, and you have your first 5 kickers as you would in a normal penalty shootout. And then once it goes to sudden death, which inevitably it will, because your kickers should be slotting them from the 22 in front of the posts, you then work your way through the team till eventually your props are having a crack.
Holy shit.
Can you imagine? I hope that doesn't happen, because I think it's a bit of a shit way for rugby to a result to be decided. But
and I think New Zealand would, my personal opinion on that would, New Zealand would have more rounded, core skilled players
in terms of having the advantage in a shootout.
Yeah.
Oh, with that on paper for sure. I think but I think in that situation, anyone can do it. You know, every single player in every single position has had a crack at goal before. They know the basics of it, and I think it just comes down to who's got the nerve. Because actually, there's more pressure on the kickers, the ones who have done a bit in the past, or the ones that don't kick, but say, "Oh, I used to kick at school, and I still have a practice messing around. I can do it." And then, of course, it's like, right, don't mess this up. I'd almost rather not. I used to hate kicks in front of the posts. I would
really,
I'd always prefer to be about, I don't know, between 5 and 10, not 10, 5 meters either side. Dead in front, it was like if you put if you pull it at all, you can pull it past the post. Didn't like it. Obviously, when it's a try, you can stick it so close that you can't miss. But if it was a penalty in front of the posts, not so much fun.
Oh, that's interesting. I never. That's interesting. I never in front of a post. I was always sweet, whereas it was. I'm
not talking out in the corners, but just off centre was good for me.
I know what you mean, the kick, but either way, that's I think we're probably going into the realms of very unlikely scenarios.
Yes, we are. So we're going to move on. Okay, let's just to close it up then. Obviously, England, Wales on the 10th. On the 11th, isn't it? On the Sunday.
Yeah, it's on the Sunday, yeah.
So that's massive. So on the 10th, day before, be sure to have a look out and see how Australia get on against New Zealand in Australia, and also Argentina going to host South Africa. So that'll be interesting to see, what Argentina can do against another strong side after what they did with New Zealand, because it feels like they're waiting to do something. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that and report back. But yeah, obviously all eyes will be on Twickenham, England against Wales in the opening World Cup warm-up test match. 1 of 4 before England win the World Cup.
Of course. And I think next week's pod, we probably wait till the Thursday or Friday till they've announced the team, right? And then we...
Yeah, well, so, we'll have a think, because it depends whether we want to make a prediction. But as I say, it may be a bit obvious, and it's been narrowed down pretty heavily, so it might be worth waiting and then discussing the team itself. But of course, we do our pre-match discussion in the live episode, don't we? So we need to decide how we're going to do it. But you're going to get 2 episodes next week. One will be a normal one, and one will be the game itself. So make sure you tune in and start spreading the word, because this is when it all starts to get going.
Yeah, mate, this is good. This is where things are sort of fun and enjoyable, and this is where we are going to have an amazing few months.
And we stop repeating ourselves, which is awesome.
Yeah, well, we'll try.
Guys, thanks so much for tuning in and sticking with us through this sort of off-season period. But hopefully the wait will have been worth it. The next few months are going to be pretty special. Keep tuning in. Keep spreading the word. As I said at the beginning, if you get a chance, rate us, review us on iTunes. That would be amazing. Also, if you want to get in touch, if you've got anything you want to share, if you just want to let us know what you think, or if you've got questions you want to ask us, you can email us englandrugbypod@gmail.com, or you can reach out on social media @englandrugbypod. And we will look forward to hearing from you.
Excellent. Thanks very much, guys.